As polls show, the Conservative Party has seen its lead in public opinion lose its bounce. The potential of a hung parliament increases the risk of the UK either crashing out of the European Union or facing a return to the Brexit impasse horror show of recent years, a polling expert has warned. Professor Sir John Curtice, speaking at a hustings event hosted by the Herald in Glasgow, said the Tories' lead in the poll had fallen back to 10%, about the same level as it was when the election was first called. But he said if their lead were to narrow further, say by 6 points, the probability of Boris Johnson winning a majority would be 50% compared to 50% for a hung parliament, he said. Because the Conservatives no longer have friends left in the House of Commons, if they don't get a majority they will soon be in trouble, he said. He outlined the case if opposition parties fail to achieve the votes to get the Tory government out, but Boris didn't have the votes to get the withdrawal treaty through Parliament. This would be a narrow range of 320 to 326 seats being won by the Tories. What happens in that situation, your guess is as good as mine, he said. Strictly speaking, we could just be heading for crashing out without a deal. Some Tory MPs who would back Boris's deal with the European Union would, however, resist a sudden departure, he said, which would mean a return to the difficulties of parliamentarians having to decide how to handle Brexit. There's that very narrow range of results which welcome back the Brexit impasse horror show, he said. Nevertheless, the SNP and the Liberal Democrats would be duty-bound to shore up a minority Labour government because they supported the general election in hopes of achieving a second referendum, even if arguments remain over issues such as Trident and the unpopularity of Jeremy Corbyn as leader. He said, the real politic of the situation here is if there is a majority of MPs from elected parties that are in favour of a second referendum, then, although there are various noises about Trident and we don't like Jeremy Corbyn, it would happen. Given the Lib Dems and SNP precipitated this election in order to precipitate a second referendum, it has to be the case that if there is a chance of sustaining a minority Labour administration in order to apply for an extension to Article 50 and then put the issue to the electorate, they would. But the Labour coalition would not last longer than a year, he predicted. My expectation would be if we were to have a deeply minority Labour administration put in for the purposes of having a second referendum, probably the three opposition parties could agree on a budget because they are on roughly the same page on spending and taxation. But I would think it would be unlikely that the government would serve for more on this story. Visit the news article link.